Chosen ones, your voice didn't echo. It thundered with divine finality, shattering illusions they swore would never crack your presence alone, unraveled centuries of deception, peeling back layers of lies like rotting paint from a sacred wall. They tried to label you delusional, bitter, or lost, but now they stagger in silence, eyes wide with the horror of recognition. For you weren't ranting, you were revealing. You weren't fighting shadows, you were exposing monsters. And in that moment, truth no longer needed to shout. It simply stood tall and undeniable, crowned by the fear it left in its wake. Chosen ones, they thought the shadows would keep their secrets safe, but your light was relentless, piercing through layers of pretense and performance. Their false righteousness melted away, revealing the rot beneath, and still they cling to their illusions as if denial could rewrite what's already been exposed. But the truth doesn't beg to be believed. It simply stands its ground and watches them unravel. Your presence is not a threat. It is a reckoning, a divine reminder that every hidden deed carries weight and the time for masks has passed. Chosen ones, your awakening was not madness, it was memory, a remembering of power. They hoped you'd never reclaim. You saw through their theatrics, their carefully curated chaos, and you called it out, not with hate but with heavenly fire. They tried to strip you of your voice, your clarity, your divinely guided instincts, but the more they pushed, the louder the truth rang through your being. Now the veil lies in shreds at their feet, and they're left blinking in a light. They can't dim the consequences they hurled like curses, boomerang back with sacred force as the universe makes it plain. What was meant to break you was always meant to crown you. Chosen ones, you never lifted a finger in vengeance, yet the universe lifted the scales and balanced them on your behalf. The torment they once cloaked in smiles now circles them like vultures, restless and relentless, their fake serenity shattered by the echo of their own intent for what they sowed in secret. Now blooms in the open, twisted vines of consequence wrapping around their illusions. No hex, no spell, just truth in motion, justice in rhythm. And while they scramble for shelter from storms they conjured, you walk untouched, cloaked in divine protection, proof that when the heart is pure, the universe becomes your sword. Chosen ones, they once scoffed at your discernment, branding your vision as delusion while basking in their temporary illusions. But now, panicked eyes scan the horizon for signs you already named. Their silence is not forgetfulness, it is shame, disguised as strategy, for even as they mimic your steps, they dare not speak your name. Pride shackles them tighter than any chain, and though they drink from the well you dug, they pretend it sprung from their own hands. Still, you do not gloat. You simply rise, for you were never moved by applause, only by alignment with truth. Chosen ones, your justice flows like dawn, silent, unstoppable, undeniable. It does not scream, it simply reveals. And in that revelation, the guilty unravel what they crafted in secrecy, now betrays them in plain sight. Conversations once whispered behind closed doors, now echo in the open strategies, once cloaked in charm, now wrought in exposure. The masks slip not with drama, but with the weight of undeniable truth. And as each thread of deception unravels, they realize too late that nothing forged in darkness can withstand the gaze of the awakened. Chosen ones, the collapse of their alliance is not chaos. It is correction, for what was built on shared malice cannot stand without a target. And now that you've risen beyond reach, their foundation crumbles under its own weight. Their unity was never rooted in truth, only in the thrill of your destruction. But the moment your spirit refused to break their illusion, shattered one by one. Their masks slip as panic drives them to betrayal, and blame their hands, once joined in slander, now point accusingly at each other. Loyalty dissolves into self-interest, and while they spiral in confusion, you ascend untouched, guarded by forces ancient and exact. Justice was never loud, it was patient, and it never forgets. Chosen ones, your silence speaks louder than their accusations ever did, for while they scramble to rewrite the story, you no longer need to defend your name. Truth has become your witness and divine timing, your advocate. What once felt like isolation was preparation. The fire refined you while it exposed them. Every tactic they employed now turns inward, unraveling their credibility. Strand by strand, they built a false tower of evidence, but the winds of divine order do not spare the fragile. Their own contradictions serve as confessions, their own alliances as proof. Your hands remain folded, not in surrender, but in sacred stillness, for justice, once summoned, requires no performance, only presence. Chosen ones, the harvest arrives not with fanfare, but with undeniable fruition. Every word you sowed in pain now blooms in undeniable clarity, while they hope to silence you. They only fertilized your truth with their resistance. You spoke not for applause, but from alignment with a higher will. And now that alignment commands results, their avoidance of responsibility has become a spectacle, not of strength, but of collapse. For those who cannot face truth are eventually buried by it. You needed no vindication, only patience, and now the fruits of your endurance speak volumes louder than any defense you could offer. Spirit does not forget what was rooted in righteousness. Chosen ones, your role was never to chase approval, but to release frequency. Your truth carried weight, not because it was loud, but because it aligned with cosmic order. Each syllable you spoke resonated with unseen realms, calling forth justice in forms no scheme could block. While they spun webs of illusion, you planted worlds with your voice, and now those worlds rise in undeniable form. Their narratives collapse, not by confrontation, but by contrast, for lies cannot survive beside living truth. The reality they mocked is now the ground they must walk upon, and every step reminds them, you were never speaking for attention, you were speaking creation. Chosen ones, the tapestry unfolds in divine synchronization. What was once perceived as personal suffering now reveals itself as the seedbed for a greater awakening. The injustices you endured were never isolated, but woven into a broader cosmic design. Your victory is not simply your own, but a beacon for all who have suffered in silence, for every wound they sought to deepen in you now echoes through their lives as a reflection of their own unresolved darkness. Your resilience has become the catalyst for a global reckoning, and the balance that once seemed distant now settles upon the scales of universal law. Their attempts to control you have unraveled their own power, and in the silence of divine equilibrium, their struggle becomes the proof of what they cannot deny. Chosen ones watch as the years carve deep lines into their faces, each wrinkle a testament to the weight of their own deception, while you, untouched by the corrosion of falsehood, remain ageless in spirit. Your growth is not a reaction to the world, but a direct alignment with the divine currents that carry you forward. They have become prisoners of their own stagnation, shackled by the lies they cling to, while you flow freely in the currents of truth. Their minds fray under the pressure of their contradictions. While your clarity sharpens with each challenge, they refuse the key that could unlock their evolution, binding themselves in fear and pride, while you expand into realms they can't even see. Chosen ones, the cosmic laws function with absolute certainty. Beyond the grasp of human manipulation or resistance, their defiance of universal order is but a brief illusion, a fleeting moment in a vast, unfolding truth. Every action, no matter how hidden or disguised, ripples through the universe and returns with a force they cannot avoid. Their frantic efforts to evade the inevitable only draw them deeper into the web. They wove themselves. Their attempts to sow chaos now bear the seeds of their own undoing. Every false move they make tightens the noose of their own, making the more they strike, the weaker their blows become, as the very forces they sought to bend against you turn in their favor, pushing them towards their destined reckoning. Chosen ones, they believed the quiet of divine timing was a sign of your vulnerability, not understanding that the silence was the calm before the storm. They mistook your peace for surrender, not knowing that it was the deep stillness of cosmic preparation. While they plotted their next moves, the universe was already setting the stage for their unraveling. Now they find themselves caught in the flow of a power they cannot control, a reckoning that cannot be delayed. Their usual strategies, their hidden alliances, their manipulation, all crumble before the weight of a truth they cannot escape. This is not a battle they can win, for they are not facing you. They are facing the inexorable force of divine justice, and it moves with a precision and authority far beyond their comprehension. Chosen ones, your mere presence was a mirror. They could not avoid your authenticity burned through their facades, illuminating the hollow spaces they desperately tried to keep hidden by standing in your truth. You became a living testament to what they lacked. While they paraded in false bravado, you radiated the quiet power of unshakable integrity. Each step you took exposed the cracks in their illusions, and with every breath you drew, their fabricated reality began to fracture your very being, dismantled what they had built on deceit, and they could not bear the reflection you forced them to see in themselves. The discomfort they felt in your light was the uncomfortable truth of their own emptiness, a truth they could no longer outrun. Chosen ones, the very trials they orchestrated to break you, became the forge of your divine strength. Each challenge, a flame that tempered your spirit. Each betrayal, a hammer that shaped your resolve. The weapons they aimed at, you were never your undoing. They were the tools that refined you. The falsehoods they whispered only honed your discernment. The mockery they cast upon you sharpened your clarity. And in the heat of their opposition, you emerged forged into a force they never anticipated. What they sought to use for your destruction has only become the bedrock upon which your power stands unshakable. Chosen ones, where they once wore defiance as a cloak, now their every movement is marked by hesitation. Their bold declarations have turned into murmurs, their once feared presence now a retreat in the darkness. The pride that once fueled their attacks has turned into a quiet, crumbling shame. Their actions, once open and sure, now slink in secrecy like thieves afraid of their own shadow. The more they hide, the more their fear becomes visible, an undeniable testament to the power they never anticipated in you. Their silence is not strength, it is the admission of defeat. Chosen ones, before we move on, I want you to pause for a moment and take action. Subscribe to the channel and share this message with those who need it. This isn't just evolution, it's your divine eruption. The pressure that once buried you has now refined you into pure spiritual fire. You no longer bend beneath the weight. You rise, fierce and unshaken, crowned by the trials meant to silence you. The answers you once chased now flow through you as living truth. You are not a seeker. You are a signal, activating those destined to remember who they are. This is your emergence, your roar, your radiance. Walk with unwavering conviction, speak with the authority of alignment, and move as the embodiment of divine disruption. The age of suppression is over. The era of illumination begins with you. Subscribe now and claim your place in the awakening. Chosen ones, the realm beyond human understanding operates with a wisdom far beyond earthly comprehension. While they focused on the fleeting evidence of their manipulations, the divine gaze saw the truth of their hearts. Every whisper of malice, every seed of hatred, every plot woven in secret was captured in the eternal record. Their attempts to escape the reach of cosmic justice falter against the immensity of divine awareness. No action, no thought, no intention is ever overlooked in the eyes of the Creator. The very fabric of their case against you is unraveled by the truth that exists outside time, and what they once believed was a victory is now revealed as their final downfall, a hollow triumph in the eyes of eternity. Chosen ones, they sought power through deceit, but in the end, they forfeited the very essence that would have sustained them. Their advantage, built on lies, eroded beneath the weight of its own false foundation, while you, rooted in authenticity, found strength in your vulnerability. Each step of surrender became the soil for your growth. What they believed was their triumph was only the seed of their destruction. What they saw as your downfall is now the foundation of your rise. The more they gained in deceit, the more they lost in truth, and what they took from you in the shadows only strengthened you in the light. Chosen ones, your vindication is not simply for you, but for all those who have suffered in silence through your stand. The chains of fear loosen for others through your courage. Countless voices find their own strength to rise. What you endure is not a private victory, but a collective awakening. Your truth becomes the spark for those who have been muted by oppression to reclaim their power. Your unwavering refusal to conform creates ripples that inspire others to stand in their own light through your example. The spirit of justice expands, becoming a beacon for all who have felt unseen or unheard. Chosen ones, your victory is not a solitary triumph, but the opening of a doorway for others to walk through. The veil has lifted, and before them stretches a path of choice, one that calls them to face the truth, to acknowledge their faults, to seek humility and growth. The other path, a darkened road, offers only further evasion, the deepening shadows of denial, and the inevitable unraveling of their soul. Their fear now is not just of the consequences they face, but of the awareness that they stand at a pivotal crossroads. Cosmic mercy has been abundant, but time runs out and the weight of their decisions will carve the course of their destiny. Their moment of reckoning is now upon them, and the universe will not wait forever. Your justice is not a weapon, but a mirror. It does not seek to destroy, but to reveal the truth stands undisturbed, for it needs no defense. It is self-evident your light did not strike at darkness. It illuminated it, exposing what was hidden in its depths. Your clarity did not challenge confusion. It simply offered a higher vision by remaining anchored in divine purpose. You became the vessel through which justice poured, not through force, but through the quiet power of revelation. Those who once hid behind falsehoods now stand naked in the truth, their spiritual bankruptcy laid bare as the light of justice uncovers all they sought to conceal. Your justice flows not from the desire for retribution, but from the quiet power of revelation. Truth stands on its own, needing no force to uphold it, for its very nature is undeniable. Your light did not wage war against the darkness. It simply exposed it, allowing all to see what was hidden beneath the veil. The clarity you offered did not fight confusion. It became the lens through which a higher understanding was possible. By remaining steadfast in higher truth, you became a conduit for justice, not as a deliverer of punishment, but as a bringer of clarity. Those who once wore the mask of righteousness are now revealed for what they truly are, their spiritual poverty laid bare before all, as the light of truth unveils the full extent of their deceit. They traded fleeting power for eternal truth, and now they stand before the inevitable reckoning. Their moral bankruptcy is evident, their spiritual credit depleted through countless betrayals of what is right, and the consequences they face are non-negotiable, with no reserves to draw upon. They are left exposed, unable to barter for mercy. The wealth you gained through unwavering integrity, despite the storms they sent your way, now stands as a shining testament to the strength of your spirit, while their poverty, both of character and consequence, becomes painfully clear. Your steadfastness in truth has made you a keeper of abundance, while their dishonor has left them with nothing but the empty promises of power they can no longer afford. Chosen ones witness the unraveling of their influence as the very networks they manipulated begin to see through their lies. Those who once clung to their narratives now find the threads of truth too strong to ignore. The power they once wielded through deception fades, unraveling in the light of awakening perception. The territories they conquered with falsehoods are now being reclaimed by those who are awakening to the truth. Universal forces move in harmony to affirm your position, for truth does not need constant protection or reinvention. It simply is, while their falsehoods demand endless effort to uphold, consuming all their energy. They find themselves trapped in the very web they wove, unable to sustain the lies that once carried them forward.